Well, we have some good news. We've received some fan mail. And our emailer is Shimmy Gray Miller, charismatic college coach, former Michigan player, fierce rival of mine, and now my best friend. Shimmy leads with this line, which is always nice to hear. Thanks, Shim. And then she follows up with some constructive criticism, which is always helpful. Shimmy, who specializes in post play, writes, "It's so unfair when you were sealing him and getting a lob with no help side. That drill is always advantage offense." Here's the exact clip that shows how I'm getting an advantage by pinning and sealing Matt up the key. Now is a good time to add other players on the floor who are older than 13 and 14 years old. I'd like you to meet Kevin. Kevin's an old friend I met in Chicago when he was 17. I played him in a game of horse and wrote a story on him. Now I'm going to put him down low on the other block, which means that would put his buddy here, his friend Tyson, defending him right under the basket. So Shimmy's point is basically that if Tyson were under the basket, I would not be able to get this lob. I picked Kevin as my teammate for a reason, because Kevin knows a thing or two about basketball, and as soon as he sees me pinning Matt, he's going to cut to the high post. And that's going to put Tyson here. Advantage offense. Unless you have great defensive players who know how to cover for Matt's mistake. Guarding Marshall is a guard named Melo. Now Melo gets good help defense, so what he has to do is sink in the middle and try to shut down the lob. However, if his player isn't Marshall and it's someone like, I don't know, a guy named Ray, and Ray's got some pretty good accuracy from long range, then Melo's got a decision to make. And the decision is easy. That lob pass to me down low from Coach Ryan is far more of a threat than that skip pass over to Ray or Marshall, because Melo will still have plenty of time to close out and keep his player out of the middle. This brings us back to the whole belief that defense is really an attitude. Your back's to the basket, you're at a disadvantage, but if your team believes in good position and help defense, you can work together to beat a cut, to play good post defense, and to fight through screens. At this age, most of the screens you'll see being set are on-the-ball screens. Here's the lack of communication, no true help. The shot goes up, and Barber gets great position on the offensive board. The first big step is communication. But screen right isn't enough without the proper positioning. Goodell's mistake here is just being too tight to Delilah, who's not the threat. The threat is the drive that Jane is going to take and how Goodell needs to do a better job of hedging or beating her to a spot. So she misses beating her on the hedge. Chris isn't there to help. Ben's turned his head, and that's why Jane finds a clear lane to the basket. As soon as Katie sees Delilah go, she's got to tell Maggie screen right, but also go in hedging mode, which is to create a fence so that Jane can't get through. So she doesn't create the fence, and she also doesn't allow Maggie a space to get through as quickly as she could to stop Jane. Chris is really late on the help, and by then Jane has already established a line to the basket. Here's what it looks like when you ask a 6th grade kid to hedge when he has absolutely no idea what hedging means. So watch it again. He chases Delilah and doesn't even look at Jane, who is the threat. Katie calls out the screen early, giving Maggie enough time to drop under the screen. Katie hedges just long enough for Maggie to get through so they don't have to switch. You don't want to switch, but if you do, you want to do it right. Baynard steps up and plugs up the middle. Maggie stays on the inside of Barber, and Goodell does a great job in help defense. Communicate the screen early, slide back, create a gap for your teammate to get through, and everyone box out. Nice job, Ben. And if you switch, you really want to hold it down. So they held it down, they closed out, and they keep the players out of the middle. David's going to be hit by a screen left. Tomas calls it, hedges, and David keeps pursuing so he gets below the line of the ball, and they get a steal. Here's more proof of the high value of help D in that Max and Dylan do a great job of dropping below the line of the ball to make sure that there are no gaps. Screens away from the ball, the secret is good help D. So Zach gets the ball here. Marshall should be staying in good help D. Pass goes to the left. Sarah should be jumping the ball and staying in good help D. Instead, she goes with Zach. It's not really a great screen, but Sarah is not in help defense, can't see the line of the ball. In the meantime, Goodell goes along the baseline, and there is no help. Now here's Matt playing D on Malik. Now I'm sure Matt's going to star in many of our offensive videos. Just want you to see how Matt, like many kids his age, when the ball is passed, turns his head from the ball back to his player. Now instead of jumping to the ball and being in help and shooting both, he runs toward Malik and almost picks off his teammate. D and Ash don't even have to set a screen, and still Miles runs right in to Marshall because he doesn't create space and form that V so Marshall can get through. The rules for beating a cut or fighting a screen are the same in that you want to be in good help and anticipate what the player wants. So Ethan chases the cutter instead of playing the cut, which is the little guy right to the block under the basket. The rule is you always want to switch anything block to block. So watch Zach, who's completely out of position on Goodell. If Goodell had screened away, which is the best screen in the house, or screen diagonal, Zach and Marshall are going to have to switch. So you always switch block to block screens. Marshall's figured out that if he shoots both and is in help position, he's not going to get rocked with the screen. He just goes under it, slides through with ease. And the only bummer is that after the ball is passed, Marshall gets beat on a shuffle cut by Maggie, and then Willie gets beat on a shuffle cut by Goodell, which means they have to go back and watch, I think it's video number 3, on the ball defense and jumping to the ball. Here up top, Malik gets the ball, and then we're going to slow it down and watch how he's going to pass the ball and go screen, but Matt follows Malik instead of hedging and allows Zach a good look. But Marshall does have a great understanding for help D, so he slows down Zach just by being in good help and then closes out. Malik is up top, and Matt gets hit with the screen. Marshall does an awesome job of hedging Malik just long enough to buy Matt a second, and then he goes and finds his player. Also, behind Marshall, Willie did a really good job, and we'll see it again, of holding down the basket while Marshall slowed down Malik. So there's Willie in the back line. You can barely see him, of taking away the backdoor cut by Maggie. Everyone clogs up the middle and forces Malik out. And here's Yannicka preventing an easy bucket with really good help D. Again, Maggie gets hit with a screen. That's Barbara and Marshall's specialty. Jane does a great job hedging. Maggie pursues, but Marshall, what a great pass. And Yannicka, who's never heard of John Stockton and Karl Malone, says, I don't think so. Now we're going to look at a few more clips again. Great job by Maggie getting through the screen, which sometimes is no fun, by the way. And good pressure by Goodell, dead. And I like how the girls jump to the ball and get below the line of the ball and shoot both. And now for the very last clip, which is an on-the-ball screen, a hedge until Ashley can get through, a double down to the post, a kick out, and awesome box outs, a rip by Maggie, and Purple goes on the attack.